Elias Crow reached Red Dust Valley as the sun leaned low over the desert, dull and heavy, like it had already given up on the day. The land stretched wide and empty, the kind of empty that pressed against a man's chest and made him feel small no matter how long he had lived under open skies. Ahead of him, the town rose out of the dust in broken shapes. Buildings leaned at odd angles, roofs sagged, windows stared back like blind eyes that had seen too much and chosen to forget. Elias slowed his horse without thinking. He had not planned this return. For years, he told himself, the past was finished, buried somewhere beneath miles of sand and time, but the road had pulled him here all the same. The sign at the edge of town creaked as the wind pushed against it. The paint was nearly gone, but the name could still be read if you looked long enough. Red Dust Valley. Elias passed beneath it, the sound of hooves loud in the stillness. No voices answered. No movement followed him. Only the wind, dragging dust across the street in slow, restless waves. He dismounted near the center of town, his boots touching the dirt softly. His hand hovered near his belt by habit, even though he had not worn his gun openly in years. Some habits never fully leave. The main street looked frozen in time, a general store with its door hanging open, a saloon with shattered glass glittering faintly in the light, a church without a bell, its doorway dark and hollow. Elias walked slowly, each step measured, as if the town itself might recognize him and react. He stopped in front of the sheriff's office. The building stood crooked but stubborn, refusing to collapse even after years of neglect. Elias stared at it longer than he meant to. This was where Thomas had worked. This was where everything had started to fall apart. Inside, the air was thick with dust and old wood. Papers lay scattered across the floor, yellow and brittle. The desk had been tipped over, one leg broken. Elias moved deeper into the room, his eyes scanning corners without effort. Behind the desk, half buried under dirt and debris, something caught the light. He crouched and brushed it clean with his sleeve, a sheriff's badge. Elias felt his chest tighten. He did not need to read the name etched into the metal. He knew it. Thomas Crow, his brother, the man who believed in rules and order even when the world around him did not. Elias closed his hand around the badge, the metal cold against his skin. Memories came back fast and sharp. Late-night arguments. Thomas standing firm while Elias paced like a caged animal. Thomas saying the town needed a steady hand. Elias saying steady hands got buried the night Elias left. Thomas had been standing right there. Badge newly pinned to his chest. Pride in his eyes. Disappointment, too. Elias had ridden out before dawn, convinced he was making the smart choice. Survival over principle. He told himself Thomas would understand. He never came back to find out. Elias slipped the badge into his coat and stepped back outside. The sun had dipped lower now, shadows stretching long across the street. The town felt heavier, like it was holding its breath. Elias chose the old hotel for the night. The stairs groaned under his weight. He slept lightly, his back to the wall, his senses sharp. The wind whispered through broken boards, carrying sounds that almost felt like voices. Dreams came and went, filled with gunfire and unfinished conversations. At first light, Elias began searching the town with purpose, not wandering, searching. He followed instincts sharpened long ago. At the edge of town, he found the remains of homes. Burn marks scarred the ground. Charred beams lay half buried in the sand. Fire had swept through here, fast and complete. Elias knelt and picked up a piece of warped metal. He remembered Thomas mentioning outsiders, men with money and papers, men who spoke softly and smiled while planning to take what did not belong to them. Back in town, Elias pried up loose floorboards in the general store. Beneath them, he found a ledger wrapped in oilcloth. Inside were names, dates, and numbers written in careful lines, payments, land transfers, promises made and broken. This was not chaos. It was organized, planned. Red Dust Valley had been erased on purpose. Beyond the town, near a dry wash, Elias found disturbed ground, a shallow grave that time and animals had not fully claimed. There was no body, just scraps of cloth and dark stains in the dirt. Elias recognized the coat immediately. Thomas's coat. His hands clenched as he stood there, staring down. No marker, no justice, just silence. By midday, Elias heard horses. 3 riders approached from the south, their silhouettes sharp against the horizon. They entered the town slowly, spreading out like men who expected trouble but were not afraid of it. Clean coats, good rifles, confidence born from knowing they had power behind them. Elias watched from the shade until one of them called out, his voice casual, almost bored. Elias stepped into the open. The men noticed him at once. Hands drifted toward weapons. One of them smiled when Elias spoke his name, said he had heard stories, said Elias Crow had been fast once, but fast men always slowed down or died. Elias stood still. He told them the town was finished, that the dead should be left alone. They laughed. The tension thickened. Elias felt it settle into his bones. He knew these men were not here by chance. They were here to make sure nothing stirred. Elias told them the truth did not stay buried forever. One of them raised his rifle. The first shot cracked through the air. Elias moved without thinking. Old instincts took over. He drew and fired in one smooth motion. One man went down hard. The others scrambled for cover, bullets tearing into wood and stone. Dust filled the street. Elias advanced, using doorways and corners, forcing the fight closer. He felt fear, but it did not control him. Purpose did. Another man rushed him, panic in his eyes. Elias fired once. It was over. The last rider hesitated, then turned his horse toward the desert. Elias aimed, then lowered his gun. He told the man to run, to carry the truth back. The rider did not argue. Silence returned, heavier than before. Elias stood alone, his breathing slow. He returned to the sheriff's office and placed the badge on the desk, straightening it. He spoke out loud, his voice steady but low. He apologized, not for coming back too late, but for leaving too early. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, Elias lit a signal fire at the edge of town. Smoke rose straight into the sky. Someone would see it. Stories would spread. Red Dust Valley would not disappear again. When night came, Elias mounted his horse. He looked back once, not with regret, but with acceptance. He had faced what he ran from. He had paid his debt. Elias Crow rode out of Red Dust Valley a different man, carrying the past with him, but no longer buried beneath it. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon.